Hello everyone, my name is Reza and I am the unit chair for MIS 171 Business Analytics. In this series of weekly videos, I will be taking you through the process of analyzing a data set based on a case study named Deskplace using Excel. Deskplace is a hypothetical company that sells office furniture and supplies, which was developed by MIS 171 team for the purpose of this unit. Through this case study, we will explore various analytical techniques that will help you better understand how data can be used to inform businesses and how to help businesses to make better decisions. So whether you are a student of MIS 171 or simply interested in learning more about data analytics, I invite you to join me on this journey as we dive into the world of business analytics. Without delay, let's get started. To access your case study, you need to go to the unit website, the main page, then you can go to content, then you scroll down to week 1, and after going to week 1 content, you can go to the seminar lab activities and resources. You can see all the relevant information about this case study. The PDF guide, which I have downloaded already. This is the PDF file of explaining the case study, and also an Excel file with all of the relevant data set. If you look at the Excel data set, you can see that it has 3 sheets in it. The first sheet is an introduction to the various variables in the sheet. The second sheet is the data about employee survey. And the third sheet is about the sales in different months of different years. So first of all, you need to make sure that you're familiar with these variables. Please go through these variables for a minute, and then we can go through the data set together. So if you can look at any data sheet, you can see that it is like a table. We have headings, which are the names of the variables. We have a list of variables. In our case, we have employee number, gender, position, department, and so on. Then on the rows, we have a complete record of each employee. So we can see that the first employee is female, have a position of management, works in sales, and so on. The columns are each variables. We can see that, for example, this variable explains days absent. Kind of the data is in the body of the table. So that's all with this worksheet. If we go to the next data sheet, we can see that we have here 3 variables, year, month, and sales. And we have various rows, going from the first row to those many rows. In any Excel sheet, you can see that we have a name or an alphabet for any column, and then we have rows. And if we look at each cell, we can see that it has an address. It is B1, this one, or we look at this one, it is D5. So when we have the data set in Excel, so if I put one number here, this value, for example, 5 is sitting in cell B3. So that's the cell B3. So I can put something back saying that B3 is 5. So that's the cell number. So these cell numbers sometimes can be considered as relative references. So if we have another cell here, so for example, I put another value here, for example, 4, this is B4, the value is 4. and we can see that it is one row lower than the previous one. If we go to the other side, we can see, for example, putting a value like 7 here, the value for C3 is 7. We can see that going from 5 to 7, we are adding to the column. From B3 to C3, going down, we are going to B3 to B4. Sometimes when we want to fix an address, sorry, we add a $sign behind it to make the address absolute reference. We are going to practice it further in later stages. There are certain tasks that you need to learn about Excel, such as splitting screen, copying, pasting, changing the width of column. These are the things that you are going to practice when you are doing rest of the class and learning how to perform any of the tasks. But I want us to practice some of the very basic Excel functions. So let's go here. Think about one of our variables, performance. This has these many values. So the first Excel function that I want us to practice together is the function to find out about the minimum. So the function itself is min, M-I-N, representing minimum. Anytime you want to put a function in Excel or a formula in Excel, you start with equal sign. So first you put your equal sign. Let me zoom in a bit. So for the minimum, you put the equal sign and you put mean. It brings the functions, list of functions that start with mean. We select mean, and it says that give me a few numbers and I can find the minimum. So you say that find the minimum between 5, we separate them with comma, 6 and minus 2, and you close the parentheses and hit enter, and it shows that among the variables that we entered, 5, 6, and minus 2, the minimum is minus 2. However, some easier tasks, whenever you are working with these many values in a data set, you cannot put one number at a time. So instead, we tend to use the addresses. So think about, we want to find the minimum performance between the first 5 employees. We put mean. You can just type mean or click the function mean. And in the parentheses, you can say that I want this address. Then I want the second. Then I want the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And the first one should be E2. E2. So you are saying that I want the minimum in cell E2, E3, E4, E5, and E6. We close the parentheses and hit enter, and it shows that among these first employees, the minimum performance was 62. So we went from E2, E3, E4, E5, E6. If we go down in our data set, we can see that it goes up to 300 employees and it goes to E300, E301. So instead of we putting one address at a time, we can change the way that we are putting it. Say that I want the minimum going from E2 to E6, still for the first value, where first 5 employees, you can see that the minimum is still 62. Now you can change the range and say that I want to find the minimum between E2 and E301. So in that case, in the whole column, we can see that we have an employee with the performance of 13. So what we did was we put an address. We said that we want the value going from E2 to E301. Another interesting function, which is very simple again, is maximum. Again, we can say that max of, again, we know the addresses already, E2 to E301. And we can see that the maximum performance is 100. There are other ways to select those cells. We can say, for example, instead of putting the address, we could say that go from max and select those cells. You can see that I'm selecting them and it is selected. But again, because we have put them in a table format, it puts as the address instead of putting E2, E3, E4 up to E301. It says that in this table, select the performance. So again, going back, E2 to E301, and I missed the E, put the E back, and now we have it. Another interesting function is sum. If we want to find out if we adding all of the values together, what would be the outcome? So it is for addition. We say we want the summation of E2 to E301. Again, it gives us the summation of all the people together. The performance is 22,320. However, it doesn't give us much. Something that is very interesting for us is average. So we want to find the average performance. And the function for that is simply average. So it is bringing it here. So we say that we want the average of E2 to E301, and it says that the average is 74. We can always add or reduce the number of decimal points. There is no decimal point to remove. I am adding a few. We can see that the average performance is 74.40. So another function that I want us to do together, practice, is count. These count help us to find out how many observations, how many data points is available in a set. We can say that count from E2 to E301. We already know that there are 300 employees, so it gives us the value of 300. But interestingly, we can put a condition on it, and we say that we want to find out how many of these performances are under 60. So what we do, so we can say that, for example, we want to find how many of the values are more than, for example, 50, you can say go from E2 to E301 and find any values that are more than 50. However, most Excel versions that are raw, sometimes if you put it in this way, it doesn't understand. We put a quotation sign before, double quotation before and after. So Excel understand that we are putting a bit of text there. So we say that count if the value, the cell numbers E2 to E301, any value that is more than 50. And it says that 260 of the observations are more than 50. So these were a few very simple Excel functions. So in Excel, we have a few signs that you need to understand. One is equal sign. The other is not equal sign. Greater than sign. Greater than or equal sign. Then we have less than sign and less than or equal sign. So these are the signs that you need to learn. And this is all for the basic knowledge of Excel that you need for the first week. I am sure that you will enjoy joining the lectures and your tutor will take you through all of these with more details. Have a bit of practice, go through all of the exercises with your tutor. Good luck. Thank you.